Before we start this video, I would just like to say hello and welcome to the new subscribers. I've gotten a few over these last few weeks, and hey, hello, hi. That's it. I just wanted to say hi. If you have guests, you acknowledge them, and I've done that. Now we go on to the video. So RuPaul's Drag Race All-Stars Season 6 has been termed the best season of All-Stars, at least since All-Stars 2, but for some people it is the best season of all time. And I think I still prefer 2 over 6, but I would definitely agree that it comes in at the second place at least. It had a great cast, a lot of potential, and it really focused on what All-Stars really thrives on, and that is truly redemptive story arcs. This cast from the get-go was filled with a lot of queens who aren't necessarily considered Titan queens, and you would therefore not necessarily consider all-stars. We have Serena Chacha, the second girl eliminated on her season. We have Jan, who in the middle of the season got eliminated, though that's maybe something a bit more justifiable. But maybe somebody like Jiggly Caliente or Trinity K. Bonet. These aren't people that the general public at least considers all-stars. And of course cases like Ginger Minch, who has now opened the possibility of all-stars 2 contenders coming back. It has been really interesting, but I think it's that sort of lack of clarity about what is about to come that made this season probably one of the best. Still, I have my little kerfuffle with it. I have a lot of varying opinions from what the show decided to do in regards to judging the queens after challenges. And in this video, I would like to elaborate on that in a video where I go through the episodes with what I would deem fair judging that is not necessarily rigged for a certain person. And you can agree, disagree, that's up to you, but today this is what I'm gonna do, and let's see if the outcome is any different. One major change from the get-go. Before anything though, I pray to the Church of Kylie Sonique Love. It's my religion of choice. It's where I ask for forgiveness for all the sins that I shall have committed. She is great. I love Kylie. I loved Kylie way before All-Star 6. And I will after, and I am really happy with her winning. So whatever the outcome of this might be, if let's say for whatever reason Kylie might not win, which we don't know yet, then I just wanted to be clear that no hate here. I adore her. I always wonder what my favorite look of hers was. I think it was the Lady Gaga look. It just is so fun and bouncy. The bigger major change that we'll have for my All-Star 6 version is the fact that the game within a game will happen earlier. I am a big hater of the concept of the game within a game happening so late in the season, where basically the person who gets to return is eligible for the finale immediately, like it was in All-Star 6. But we've seen that in the past. We've seen that on All-Stars 3, where Morgan McMichaels all of a sudden was top 5 after being eliminated first. I don't like that in 2 ways. I guess All-Stars 3 and 6 are good examples for the 2 reasons as to why I don't think it should happen. In All-Stars 3, we get Morgan back, who never gets a chance to actually have a redemptive story arc and is immediately eliminated, of course. Fairly so. But if she had maybe a few more episodes, she could have had a few challenge wins maybe and could have gotten back. And in All-Star 6, we saw that it feels disgustingly unfair for Eureka to go to the finale and not Trinity. So to avoid both of these scenarios, the game within a game will happen earlier. When exactly? Well, you'll have to tune out. Nope. Tune in and see. So, we start with the All-Star Variety Extravaganza. A variety show should be an easy judgment, right? But we already have a few different opinions. My top 3 of the week are Yara, as originally, Yara and Raja. Oh my god, that was hard. Raja as originally, but I'd also, of course, add Jan. I mean, it was criminal that Jan was rendered safe. Definitely done for story arc where it sort of played out that Jan would be the safe queen again. But no, I'm not doing that here. She absolutely deserved the top three slot. The bottom three, though, I also agree 2/3 with what the original judging panel had. I would agree with Serena. I'd also agree with Trinity. They really were the worst. Serena's weird wig promo, that was so odd. But Jiggly, I'd also add Jiggly over Silky. I do think Silky's performance was maybe one of the less successful ones because it was quite stale. But Jiggly's dance, I felt, was really awkward. The choreography seemed really not out there, and I don't know, something about the attitude of her performance to me rendered that she shouldn't be in the safe slots. Like there was, it was a bit surprising that like a seasoned performer like her would do this because we've absolutely seen Jiggly perform better. We have seen that on All Star 6, so that was just a bit of a letdown. But Silky, to me, along the other queens, renders safe. The winning queen to me is also Jan, not Yara. I liked Yara's performance. It was great. It was funny. It was really funny. But Jan singing, that was ridiculously great. Oh my god. The note she held and the fact that she did that live, iconic, iconic, iconic. The bottom two, though, will be like on the show, with Serena Chacha and Trinity K. Bonet. The lip sync assassin for the week is Coco Montrese, and Coco Montrese is a stellar lip sync performer, and we have seen Jan lip sync, so I'm gonna assume that she does not win. So the group consensus will be the deciding factor as to who goes home, and we have seen that pan out in the episode. So Miss Serena Chacha is going home. No, now we enter the blue ball. The blue ball, I somewhat mostly agree with the judging, though again we have a few varying opinions. Let's start with the top three. The top three for me are Kali Sonic Love and I want to say Raja O'Hara as originally, but I'd also, of course, add Scarlett. That would be over Eureka. I thought Eureka's looks were fine, but I don't think it would. I mean, I don't think they were that stellar for her to get a top three slot. Jesus. Scarlet Envy, though, her looks were great. Her self-made look, especially, that was iconic. But I also feel like her other two looks are really great. But we'll talk about that later. The bottom three are Jiggly Caliente, Yara Sofia, as originally I agree with that, and Ginger Minch I'd add. I don't know how Akira got the bottom three placement, and when Michelle said that her look was too clubby or something, that rendered racist to me. I mean, I was like, what? What? That was crazy. Anyways, and the other queens now, of course, with Akira and Eureka are safe. Now, when we look at the top three and their looks, we have to come to a decision as to who the winner is. Originally, of course, it was Raja. I'm not sure if I'd agree with that. I think her first look, the blue bonanza look, not the blue bonanza, the blue collar look, that was not good. I really don't think it is a really good look. But the other two are really, really great. The denim look and the one she made, those were iconic, 5 out of 5. But the blue collar look was, I thought, one of the poorer ones, to be honest. And I don't think there are any boogers here with Scarlett or Kylie. With Scarlett, I really like her second look, this sort of Lana Del Rey-esque character look. I think it's fun. I think it's successful. I love the hair going through the head. Her first look is good. The proportions are a bit questionable, but her gown that she made, Jesus Christ, what the fuck? That was really, really good. With Kylie, I think her first look is great, kind of looks like the second look of Raja. Her second look is also really good. I think that's probably the highlight for me. Great tribute. And her third look is nicely done, but I think probably the least ambitious design of the three. So with all that, I would go with Scarlet Envy winning. I think overall she had the best package. But it could have gone to Raja or Kylie. It was a really close call, but to me, based on the looks presented, it would be Kylie. And she loses to lip sync. But it would be against Brooklyn, and I think that would be really fun. I mean, they had a whole storyline of like not liking each other, so this could come to like a tipping point here. But yeah, Scarlet loses. And now between Jiggly Caliente and Yara Sofia and Ginger, the bottom two would be, of course, Jiggly and Yara. I think Ginger's looks a bit bad, but not that bad that she'd be in the bottom two. And also, a side note, at one time there will only ever be 2 queens in the bottom, maybe with the exception of the very last episode, when there's only maybe 5 queens left. But before that, there will only ever be 2 queens in the bottom, and we won't switch that up just because of storyline reasons. So with Yara and Jiggly in the bottom, and Scarlet losing, so it's the group consensus. The group, I was a bit unsure about, because though Yara would statistically deserve it because she was high last week and Jiggly's second week low, or this week actually she's in the bottom. Jiggly does a better job at advocating for herself than Yara does. And Yara doesn't have the backing of her having a win in the last challenge. So I was a bit on the fence, but I ultimately went with Jiggly going home. I think the group it would be really unfair if Yara went home now, because Jiggly's looks were, I think, objectively really the worst. Unfortunately, I really like Jiggly, but yeah, that's Jiggly Caliente's exit. Okay, so now we go into the Side Hustles episode. Yeah, I mostly agreed with the judging panel. I definitely agree with the Fix It Bitch group being the best group of the week. Absolutely, they slayed, and I also agree that Trinity had the best performance. I guess you could argue that Eureka had a bit of a better performance than Trinity. I don't necessarily agree. I think Eureka's performance kind of heavily relied on just like being extra, where Trinity's performance was much more nuanced and had a lot of ups and downs that I was actually really surprised Trinity to be able to like convey. That's really difficult, that sort of comedic acting, but she really did a good job with that. So yeah, she absolutely deserved the win. With the Exorcist group being safe, and the, I don't even know what the group was called anymore, Escort something, group being in the low positions. I ultimately, though, like, I think Akira said, agreed that Silky and Akira are the actual bottom two, and that Jan and Ginger are rendered safe at least. Ginger, of course, she did great in the acting challenge. Jan didn't necessarily do that great, so you could argue for her to be there too, but I did think Akira and Silky both were a bit worse than Jan, unfortunately. So with Trinity lip syncing, we have seen that originally, and surprisingly, she does lose the lip sync. So between these two, the group consensus is the deciding factor. Neither one of them have had any ups or highs before, so it would be solely based on this week's challenge, and we've seen how that pans out with Silky Nutmeg Ganache getting the chop. Now we go on to the halftime headliner show. With the halftime headliner show, again, we have an episode where I disagree. The top 3 of the week, I think, is Jan and Trinity as originally, but I'd also add Kylie. I thought her Steven Tyler was immaculate. I mean, the fact that a drag king could, like, there could have been a representation of drag kingdom that was actually, like, celebratory, I thought was really great, and she really kind of acted it up and really showed the appeal of having drag kings as performers. So, and just her performance in general, besides all of that, I thought was really, really solid, and her Thrill Runway was one of the best ones. Eureka originally was in the top 3 for that, which I do not understand. To me, alongside Ginger and Yara, she was in the bottom 3. I thought Eureka's performance as Madonna was just Eureka performing, which is also great, but it was just not Madonna. And her runway was probably one of the weaker ones. I agree with Ginger being low, and I agree with Yara being low. With Yara, sadly, especially because her Shakira was really dead in the eye. With that, of course, Akira is safe, Raja, Pandora, and Scarlet. And I really am confused as to why they put Akira in the bottom originally. Like, I thought Akira did absolutely fine. Probably one of the weaker ones, I agree with that, but she absolutely embodied Prince. Like, if you know Prince's last performances, Akira did that. Absolutely. If you hear an ambulance in the background, just imagine that to be for me, because I can't with this judging anymore. But I'm also not re-recording. I don't care. Okay, so with the top three, Jesus, what is happening with the top three of Jan, Trinity, and Kylie? To me, the winner is Trinity. Sorry, I'm not a Jan hater. I'm not a Jader. No, janitor. I'm not a janitor. But I think Trinity was better. Her Beyonce, that it was Beyonce. It absolutely was. Jan said Gaga was fine, but it was much more gimmicky, I felt, than Trinity's performance. Jan was really acting up sort of the short, like, bursts of movements that Gaga sometimes tends to do. It was much more comedy, which I also really appreciated, but Trinity's performance was just truly embodying the essence of the character. Sort of, I feel like Kylie, where it was more so the essence of the character rather than just relying on more so gimmicks of the character, which is also a fine choice. But to me, Trinity's performance was much more impressive. Yes, her runway was weaker than Jan or Kylie's, but to me, the performance is a deciding factor, and I would count in the runway if it's not a design challenge only if like there are two queens that tie for like a win or bottom position, then I'd consider the runway. This is not the case here for me. I think Trinity is undoubtedly the winner. The bottom two of the week for me being Ginger Minj and Yara Sofia. Again, not A'keria, of course, but Ginger Minj's Fergie was so bad. It was so bad. Weird choice at only starting there. Like, it was a weird choice to choose Fergie. I feel like with Ginger, a lot of other performers would have made much more sense. But yeah, bottom two with Yara. We have seen the fact that Jessica Wilde turns it out. Now, I would assume Trinity to do well. I know I don't have a season to base that off of because Trinity lost all of her lip syncs on All Star 6. But those were maybe more so situational losses sometimes, I felt. Like, it was Laganja and the wig flew. Assuming that she wouldn't have any of these issues this week, I think she would tie with Jessica. And we sometimes have to have ties. But I think in this case, it would be Yara that goes home. I guess you could say, well, why? Because Ginger has been low before, and Yara also, like, isn't it almost like, at least Yara has been high one episode and Ginger hasn't. That's true. But I think what would be the pitfall here now is the fact that Yara can't argue for herself. She can't make a case for herself, and Ginger can, fiercely. So, and Ginger had a lot more alliances in the season, and Yara at this point really didn't have any. And of course, they would play up the story arc of Trinity versus Yara, with Trinity sending her home. Of course, that too. But yeah, to me, I think that makes sense. Now we enter the pink table talk. Here my opinions differ slightly from the original judging. The best group, I agree, were the sex group with Eureka, Trinity, and A'keria. And I also agree that the bottom group were I retract that. I think the top group, as I said, was the high group, but the bottom queens, I also agree with the judging panel. I thought Kylie really did poorly, unfortunately. I think she really didn't allow her to be that vulnerable. Jan and Scarlett were just though full out cringe. With that, Raja, Pandora, and Ginger to me render safe. Pandora could possibly gotten a bottom placement, but I think she kind of saved herself because of her more so vulnerable talk about ageism in the gay community. And Raja never should have seen the bottom three, or like any sort of consideration for that. She should have been safe from the get-go. Now, I would want the winner, of course, then not to be Ginger. I think Ginger did fine. I think Ginger did perfectly well, like Ginger does, but it was also not really... I didn't necessarily feel as though Ginger translated her like charm to a table talk sort of setting. And who I did think did that was Eureka. I thought Eureka absolutely did that. She was vulnerable. She was, though, funny, effortlessly funny, and absolutely deserved the win here. Though it could have also gotten to A'keria or Trinity, but to me, Eureka, with the full package, was definitely the better one. I agree with the bottom two ultimately being Scarlett and Jan. I think Kylie probably deserved it the least, so it's these two. They were both really unnatural, heavily relied on shticks and that other than just being who they are. So, with the lip sync assassin this week being Mayhem, I'm just gonna assume Eureka to lose. I just don't necessarily think she stands a chance. Mayhem came with a goal that week. She was fierce. I think that could have been the tie of the season with Ginger. I think that's probably my favorite lip sync of all of the season, Ginger versus Mayhem. So I'm not assuming Eureka to win. Now it's the group consensus that decides. We have seen that to be a close tie between both Jan and Scarlett. I think if Eureka won, she would have sent home Jan because she has. I think I may remember it incorrectly, but she has been critical about Jan and her inability to like be vulnerable, show the vulnerability the judges are looking for. So I think it's a group consensus, and I ultimately think it would render out to Scarlett going home today. Unfortunately, it could have gone the other way around, but again, I feel like advocacy is really important, and I feel like Jen is much better at that than Scarlett is, who doesn't necessarily have even the best relationships with other queens. Like, we have seen her barrel with queens on the regular. We've seen that with Kylie, we've seen that with Trinity, whereas Jen was, I think, much more personable and had much more solid connections. And at this point in the game, both Jen and Scarlett have a win. Their track records actually equal out to the same. So it would really be based on like personal relationships. And in that regard, I unfortunately think that Scarlett would go home. And now we have the lip sync SmackDown. I know, very early. At this point, we had 5 eliminations, and I think that's good enough. I think anybody entering the competition now has a solid chance of redeeming themselves versus coming back at fucking top 5 and only having 1 challenge. So yeah, we have the lip sync SmackDown now, and if the episode seems too empty with only these few lip syncs, well, you can fill it up with some other shit. I know you can, Drag Race. Just have a tic-tac-toe or something. So the first lip sync we've seen pan out, Serena versus Jiggly, with Jiggly going home and Serena going home and Jiggly advancing. Now, the mega hit of Silky Nutmeg Ganache enters the room, and Jiggly unfortunately gets the chop. Sigley versus Yara Sofia. And again, Sigley wins and Yara goes home. Now, this is my judging, so I'm deciding. And I was really on the fence here. To me, at first I thought Silky absolutely won, and then after looking at the lip sync another time, I thought, no, Scarlett actually won. And now I'm confused. I really don't know. I really didn't come to a decision. I mean, you gladly tell me what you guys think. But because I didn't come to a decision, we're gonna have a split reality here, like varying timelines, like 2 separate parallel running timelines. One in which Silky Nutmeg Ganache won the redemptive lip sync SmackDown and moves on, and one where Scarlett envied us. Because I really can't decide, I really don't know. But we're gonna start with the universe where Scarlett goes home and Silky comes back. So we are the American Horror Story Coven Girls with Silky Nutmeg Ganache in the mix. Probably the worst acting challenge ever. Maybe not the worst. I think Breast World was probably worse than that, but it was pretty bad. Okay, so let's go with my placements. My top 3 are Akira. Nope. I'm sorry, I had a brain fart there. Kylie, Sonya Glove, Ginger Minj, and Pandora. I think that's pretty self-explanatory. Kylie, I think, did really well. I know a lot of people really thought she shouldn't have gotten a top placement because she was helped, but I do agree that ultimately the end result counts, and I thought Kylie's Jessica Lange was really, really good. Ginger's performance as Emma Roberts was fine. I thought she was absolutely well, but again, she relies very much on these shticks that I'm just sometimes annoyed by, but I can't deny the fact that she was great. I like Ginger a lot. Please don't get me wrong, but I just don't necessarily always agree with just generally praising Ginger, and I just don't necessarily feel like sometimes she gets the same critiques as other queens do. And Pandora Box, oh my god, her not getting a top slot was fucking riggery. She did the best, and yes, Pandora is also my winner. We will talk about that later. The bottom 3 are Akira, Raja, and Eureka, of course, like originally, blah blah, and yeah, Pandora and the other queens safe. Okay, and Pandora wins. Yes, Pandora wins. Her performance as Misty, and then not Misty, what was it called? The Frances Conroy character. And then her performance with her second. What is that woman called? Joan Crawford. Joan Crawford character. She did two characters. She did both of them perfectly. Her runway for this week I thought was really fun. Not the best one, but it was really fun actually. So Pandora absolutely won that lip sync to me. Jesus. I agree with the bottom two though. Raja was a bit too heavily relying on that one character, and Akira just really wasn't good. Love Pandora, but she's not winning the lip sync. I'm sorry, no, she's not. She's really not against. No, it was Manila, and Manila really seemed kind of out of it, but I'm not assuming her to do well with the Christina Aguilera song. So it's a group consensus that decides, and we have seen how that pans out with Akira going home. But at this situation, though, Raja has not had the win yet, but Akira also didn't. So because of the fact that Raja was high more times and this was Akira's second time in the bottom, I do think it would pan out this way. I'm a show up queen, show you what I mean. That shit's been stuck in my head, unfortunately. Show up queen, so a girl group dance performance. With Silky, we really haven't seen her do any of that besides the finale performance on season 11. I would assume her to do well with the choreo. She usually does well with choreo. She's a pretty smart queen. I would assume her to have some fun lyrics. I just don't think she would be like the best though. I guess the top three though would be Trinity K. Bonet, Raja O'Hara, and Ginger Minch. To me, Ginger Minch had the best lyrics out of anybody. I was really, really impressed by her lyrics. But overall, with the whole performance, I thought Raja and Trinity probably had the whole best overall performance. The bottom queens being Pandora Box and Jan, of course. They were really weird, artificial in their performance, which really didn't make sense with the theme of this. And to me, Kylie probably goes in that group too, because she kind of missed the mark on this being like a motivational thing. With that, the big girls are safe. Though Kylie might have been put in the safe slot in lieu of maybe Silky, I just don't. With the performance we've seen, I just don't think that Kylie was able to like really translate the whole motivational thing too much, and I think Silky probably could. Like, I think that's her whole spiel. Now, the top queen, I agree, is Trinity. I thought she had a really great verse. Her choreo was great, and I guess some chops for the fact that she also choreographed everything. The bottom two, with Pandora and Jan, I also do not disagree. We have seen how this lip sync turns out. Trinity unfortunately loses, and the group ends up in a split, and Trinity ends up deciding. And in this iteration, Jan has a win, Pandora has a win. So it's even less clear, but Jan has been in the bottom more. So yeah, Jan is going home. So sad, but also deserved. Now we go into the Snatch Game of Love, another episode where I disagree. The top three would probably be Ginger, Silky, and Kylie. I know the Silky haters will be like, what? You're stupid. Silky in the top three? Are you kidding me? I do think Silky would probably do really well. Her first Snatch Game was good. Her T.S. Madison. So I have no reason to assume that Silky would not do well, and I thought that Raja, who would probably be eligible for a top three slot, the only person who would really be eligible for that, did well, but I think it would be easy to beat her. So yeah, I think these are the top three of the week. The bottom three being Trinity K. Bonet, Eureka, and Pandora Box, with Raja therefore being safe. So the winning queen for me is Kylie. I thought Ginger was really good. I like Ginger. I feel like this video is making it seem like I hate Ginger. I do not hate Ginger. But I thought Kylie's Dolly Parton was a lot better than Ginger's performance, if I'm gonna be honest. I thought Kylie's comebacks were quicker on her feet. She was smarter. She had to do more difficult things. Sometimes with Ginger's Snatch Game, it kind of felt as though she had these pre-prepared jokes that she kind of used, maybe not even if they made total sense. Whereas Kylie, of course, she had some pre-planned jokes. I'm not saying she made everything up on the whim, but it was much more organic. And she had to make a song out of nowhere for Cheyenne, and she did that amazingly. So to me, Kylie is the obvious winner, and I agree with the bottom two though, with Pandora and Trinity. Now, in this episode, the lip sync assassin was Heidi in Closet, and I am assuming Kylie to be able to beat her, especially with the song. I thought that was much more of a Kylie song than it was necessarily a Heidi song, but that would be an amazing lip sync. Jesus, the gymnastics. Come on, Cirque du Soleil. And here we have two well-performing queens in the bottom. Trinity and Pandora have been in the bottom out for the second time. Both of them have wins, though Trinity has more and Pandora has less. So due to that, unfortunately, Pandora, I think at this point, goes home. Now we enter the Drag Tots episode. The Drag Tots episode was a writing challenge and it was a design challenge. And based off of that, I have come to the following placements. For me, the top 3 of the week were Raja, Trinity, and maybe Ginger. I was really on the fence with that because I thought Ginger's writing was good. Like, Ginger usually writes really well, but a bit age inappropriate sometimes. But I also didn't mind that too much. Her look was surprisingly well. I wish she would have done that for the blue ball. But yeah, to me, these are the top 3 of the week. And the bottom 3 therefore being, of course, Kylie, Silky, and Eureka. I think that Kylie and wasn't necessarily the worst, but it just with how the challenge played out and panned out, it was just in the low placement. Eureka, though, I think kind of missed the mark, unfortunately. And we have seen Silky in design challenges, and I am just not assuming her to do well, unfortunately. I don't think that's me being crazy. She's not the best designer, and we don't have enough queens for her to like hide behind others. I agree with Raja being the winner. She did absolutely amazing, though in this iteration of the season, this is her first win. So congrats, Raja. The bottom 2 for me would be the big girls, Silky and Eureka. I think Kylie, though, was good enough to be safe. We have seen this lip sync. Boom, clap. So why not room, eh? Oh, I'm so mad. Anyway, so Raja decides, not the group decides, and since Silky is the returning queen, of course, and Eureka's first time in the bottom, and also she has a win under her belt, Silky goes home. Now we enter the Charisma, Uniqueness, Nerve, and Talent monologues, the cunt monologues. Now this will be the most controversial part of this video. I need you to be present. I do not understand the judging here. To me, Trinity was the winner. I don't get why people didn't like it. And this is immensely subjective. This is the part where I just feel like I'm losing a lot of you. A lot of you are going down the comment section and typing, "This is questionable. I'm unsubscribing." Unsubscribe all you want. I thought Trinity was great. I thought Trinity did amazing. Her monologue had it started off being like a hookup call, like she got ready, she got fresh with that, and it turned out to be this disappointing act where a guy was catfishing her, but then it had a twist to it with it being a person that was inspired by her HIV journey, and then it became sentimental again, and then it tied back to the whole thing with her being like, well, you can order me food or something, or like bring me the guy who was on the picture. Like, I thought out of all the monologues, Trinity's was the only one that truly managed to have a genuine good message in the monologue, but have also narrative structure to it. Nobody else truly made anything narratively ambitious. Trinity, though, did, and that was the challenge. So, hate me all you want. I thought Trinity did great. I was so surprised that she got a bottom placement for that. That was stupid to me. Though we are at the top 5 now, and I think with all the other queens, they did pretty similarly to me, so at this point I'm having a bottom 4 now with everybody. I also don't think it's that crazy to have that in the very last episode with so few queens present anymore. So yeah, bottom 4, Trinity lip syncs against, who was it again? Jada. And well, we're going to talk about it later. Ultimately, though, I think it would be between Eureka and Ginger, because both of them have been in the bottom now multiple times. Raja has been once. Kylie has not been in the bottom yet. So between these two, track record wise, Eureka is at a 2.5 points per episode, and Ginger at a 2.8. But Ginger doesn't have a win yet, and Eureka does. And we have seen originally in the Drag Tarts episode that for Queen's perception of who goes home, certain like these absolute judgments of somebody having a win or being in the bottom are much more important and more nuanced track records, which makes sense, of course. It's difficult to keep track of that while in the competition. So based off that, though, I would assume with Trinity winning that Ginger goes home. Though, of course, maybe Trinity lost the lip sync. I don't think it's that important. But I do think Ginger goes home, not because she deserves it, but because I think the queens will be more so perceptive to the fact that she does not have a win yet, besides the fact that she was high in the competition. Because based on that merit, Eureka probably shouldn't have gone home the episode she did. So yeah. Ginger, congratulations on top 5, I guess. Queen work. And we enter I know it's controversial to put Trinity in the winning slot. I know, but I can't. I've seen a lot of people agree with me on this, where they thought Trinity's had the best heartfelt story. Like with everybody else, I had issues. Like with Raja's story, there was the fumble at the beginning, and it kind of lacked a sort of heartfelt message. Ginger's was way too produced. It was way too, perfect. I agree with that. Kylie's was a bit too laid back. It could have used a bit more structure. And Eureka's, to me, was a stand-up performance. It wasn't a monologue. So, yeah. And now we enter the finale performance. So, we have a bit of a different top 4 now without Ginger, but with Trinity. This is what I'm going to judge the track record with, and based off of that, of course, Trinity is our winner. She has slayed. She has been in the bottom twice, though, but she has 4 wins under her belt, and comes in at a points per episode of 3.6. Closely followed by Raja with a 3.2. She has 1 win, but she was only in the bottom twice, but also high a lot. Eureka comes in at a 2.5 and Kylie at a 3. So Eureka gets the 4th spot, Kylie the 3rd, Raja the 2nd, and Trinity is the winner here. And if we go to the slots below, we can see that Silky actually was able to really redeem herself. She got to 18 total points. That's the first to last column, and her points per episode in the very last column, you can see 2.571. So she actually beat Eureka in that. So that's pretty impressive. Yeah. So in this iteration, with Silky winning the Lip Sync SmackDown, it would have been Trinity winning, and this coming out to this being the end result ultimately. Yeah. But now let's talk about the alternative universe. One where the Lip Sync SmackDown has a different outcome, namely that Silky gets eliminated here and Scarlet Envy returns to the competition. Ooh. Now we enter the American Horror Story again with a solid actress among us. Scarlet Envy has been termed the best actress of season 11, and I do feel like she would absolutely slay this. I would assume her to get the Emma Roberts role possibly, but I think she would do really, really well. To me, Ginger therefore falls onto the safe slots, and Kylie and Pandora join Scarlet in the top 3. Though you could argue that maybe instead of Kylie, it should have been Ginger. I do personally prefer Kylie's performance than over Ginger's, but I don't think it matters too much. And the bottom 3 being Akira, Raja, and Eureka as before, and then the safe queens of the safe queens. Pandora still wins to me. She was absolutely amazing. I think Scarlet will do well, but I don't think she will be better than Pandora, who slayed this. She again loses the lip sync, the bottom 2, and the elimination pan out the same way. The Show Up Queen episode is going to be maybe a bit different now without Silky here. The top 3 would be Raja, Ginger, and Trinity as originally, and the bottom would probably be Scarlet, Jan, and Pandora. I think Kylie would do better than Scarlet, so Kylie in this version is safe with Eureka. Scarlet, we have not seen her to be a great dancer, though she did improve. Looking at her halftime performance show, she did massively improve. I'm assuming she took some dance classes. She probably will have a similar issue with the writing of the lyrics being personable or not personable. but Jan and Pandora was so bad. But let's see. So Trinity wins, and I'm gonna stick with Pandora and Jan being in the bottom. I think Scarlet will not do well, but I don't think she will do worse than these two, who were undoubtedly the worst. I'm sorry, they really were. I know I'm seeming like a janitor, but I don't care. Trinity loses the lip sync, and the elimination pans out the same way. The Snatch Game of Love. We have seen Scarlet Envy in a few improv challenges, and let's just say kindly that she doesn't necessarily always perform well in those. She was gonna do Lana Del Rey for season 11. I'm assuming her to do that now, and that actually seems like a really smart choice. Like, she can really act up the Lana Del Rey character, I feel as though. So Scarlet Envy, we'd have to think, okay, how would she place? The top three, though, for me then would be Eureka, Kylie, and Raja, with Silky not being here. Raja gets the top three position. And the bottom three for me would be Trinity, Eureka, and Pandora. You could put Scarlet there in lieu of Eureka. For this, I think Scarlet would maybe be a bit funnier than Eureka and have a much more concise character than Eureka's. But doesn't necessarily matter, because the undoubtedly worst two of the week were Pandora and Trinity. So it would be just a question, is it Eureka or is it Scarlet? I don't think it matters too much, but yeah, if you want, you can put Scarlet in the low positions. I'm also not like a huge Scarlet fan or anything. I just don't think she would do that badly here. With Kylie again winning, and the bottom two remaining the same, and the elimination also remaining the same. The Drag Tots. We have seen Scarlet turn out one of the fiercest looks of all season with the blue look. So I'm assuming her to do well. I think she's a smart girl. She can probably write up some really funny text with that too. So I think she would get a top slot with Raja and Trinity. And the bottom three would therefore be Ginger, Kylie, and Eureka, just automatically. I would assume again Raja to win, and the bottom two in this iteration without Silky being here now would be Kylie and Eureka, making this the first time Kylie is actually in the bottom. So Raja gets to decide, and Raja does not get to decide. Raja gets a lip sync, and the group gets to decide, and Eureka goes home because this is Eureka's not her first time in the bottom now. No, this is her first time in the bottom, but Kylie has gotten more wins and was higher more times than Eureka was. They both have been in the bottom now the first time. Kylie has a win. Eureka had a win. Kylie's was more recent, so I think that will play in favor of her. I think also the fact that Kylie was high a lot of times and Eureka wasn't necessarily. And ultimately, I think it was also clear that Eureka's character was worse than Kylie. So Eureka unfortunately gets the chop in this iteration, which is crazy because in the other version, she made it to the finale. Can you believe it? The Charisma, Uniqueness, Nerve, and Talent monologues. Hate me all you want. But to me, still Trinity won this. I don't care. The bottom, them being everybody else. Now you could say, well, okay, this is where Scarlet goes home. But does she? Raja and Kylie probably don't come into question here because they have a win. They were not eliminated. So I think they're out of the question. It would be between Ginger and Scarlet. In this version of the season, Ginger still has no win. Scarlet has. Scarlet won the ball. And Scarlet returned and there were no episodes missed. Scarlet at this point seems, I think, is a more ferocious competitor than Ginger does. Because though Scarlet was eliminated, she returned. She beat Silky in the lip sync. She managed to get high in the Snatch Game. Not high in the Snatch Game, high in the Drag Tots episode. Where Ginger was low. She managed to have a win what Ginger was not able to do. So, call me crazy, but I think Ginger Minj is going home. The first time probably for that to happen with the eliminated queen being allowed to stay. But, yeah. It just seems the more obvious choice because Ginger originally won the Pink Table Talk, which should have gotten to Eureka, and she won the Snatch Game, which should have gone to Kylie. And in this season, I'm not being unfair, I'm not being biased towards Ginger, so unfortunately, Ginger's going home now. So sad. I really like Ginger. I genuinely do. I'm not a hater. I just don't think she would succeed here. But it could have been that Scarlet goes home, but Scarlett had, I do agree, fiercer track record. And yeah, so now we go to This Is Our Country. A little Nas is mad somewhere about this song. With Scarlett now in the mix and Trinity, so we only have two people of the original top four here with Raja and Kylie. Yeah, this is how the world would pan out if things went differently, guys. This is the new track record. Of course, still Trinity with the highest score, but we see that Raja actually improves on her score now with 33, and not I think before she had 32. Scarlett actually did really well. She comes in at 29, beating both Ginger and Eureka in regards to points per episode and total scores, even though she was eliminated. And Kylie comes in at the same 13 point slots when in the third slot then. So Scarlett absolutely redeems herself here with the fourth slot. Kylie comes in at third, Raja at second, and Trinity is the winner again. So in my version of All Stars, the winner would have been Trinity K. Bonet. Now I know a lot of y'all will be like, she shouldn't have gotten the win with the monologues. I don't agree. I think she had the best monologue. But whatever. Opinions are opinions. Everybody has them. Everybody shaves them. And it's mine. And you can tell me yours. Absolutely. I don't mind if you guys disagree. I do mind if people are like, oh, you're stupid. Or like, I have had those comments. I'm like, I'm having haters already. Love it. But I ultimately don't care necessarily. I mean, this is my video, this is my decision, and I do think Trinity was really great this season. In some ways, definitely robbed. Her elimination still pains to see her cryingly say that it's just not fair, because it really wasn't. But yeah, this is her redemption. Me deciding that she wins. And yeah, this was the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please, in the comment section below, leave me your winner, who you think should have won. And again, no hate to Kylie. Love Kylie. Listen to her new song, Complete Me. And we'll talk to you guys soon. I have another video planned very soon. Bye-bye.